I'm Kristine, and I used to be a brand strategist in New York City. I recently quit my job in New York and moved to Taiwan. And in my previous video, I talked a little bit about that. I talked about why I moved. And today, in this one, I will talk about the job hunt and the details of how I looked for a job in Taiwan, the job hunt process, and some of the things that I was pretty shocked about the job hunt. A little bit of a reverse culture shock, as some might say. If you are considering moving to Taiwan, if you are considering looking for jobs in Taiwan, or just curious about the job market in Taiwan, I hope this one helps. It was a big move for me to quit my job in New York and move back to Taiwan. So I wanted to make sure that I had something that I was comfortable with 40 plus hours of the week. I didn't have to love the job. I just didn't have to hate my life 40 hours a week. And as much as I said that career was the last thing in the list of 5 priorities, it was still important to me just because it was a huge amount of time that I would be spending at every week of my life. And I still really wanted to progress my career even if I'm moving to Taiwan. I wanted to feel like it was a progression and not a step down, and I'm not going on different paths of my career that I would ultimately regret. So, an overview on the process. 2 or 3 years ago, I started networking. I started reaching out to different branding agencies, different consultancies, similar to what I did in New York. I reached out on LinkedIn, reached out to my friend that worked in other agencies and adjacencies, and reached out to my friends that also interned in Taiwan to see if they have any connections that I could talk to, I could reach out to on LinkedIn. In total, I applied and networked for 47 jobs, 10 of which were remote opportunities that would allow me to work in Taiwan or spend some time in Taiwan. And out of those 10, 9 was in Singapore and 1 was in Manila. Of the 37 jobs left, most of it was in Taipei and 3 of it was in Taichung, middle part of Taiwan. And the types of companies and roles that I looked at, it's best if it was still brand strategy, but I was okay with just being branding or just being strategy, branding strategy, and I was in that little middle piece of brand strategy. So I was like shooting my darts at all the opportunities in that Venn diagram. Because my focus of my career has been so niche, it is really hard for me to find a position in Taiwan that fit exactly what I want. There is probably like a handful of jobs that fit my brand strategy needs. So I had to be okay with widening my pool. I was okay with taking a decrease in compensation and money, but I didn't want to feel like I was taking a down step in my career. So for me, 5 years experience, I was targeting roles that had the titles of like manager, senior manager, associate director, director. It is a wide range, but that's just because with different companies, they titled these roles differently. So what was to note was the agencies that I looked at included creative agencies and ad agencies and some branding agencies. And one of the things I noticed is that most agencies are integrated agencies. The market is not as siloed as it is in the States, so that every agency here kind of does everything. Creative agencies that also do like marketing and paid media, and that's just a very common thing. They still have a solid base of where their focus is, but they also do everything else. So I primarily focused on the creative agencies that also do branding. And then ad agencies like a 𝕤𝕤𝕤𝕤, like the 𝕤𝕤𝕤𝕤𝕤, they also do some branding. And I also looked at that. And then the second was the client side. 2 categories, foreign companies, 外商, and Taiwanese companies, 台商. All my friends were like, you must go to a foreign company. You've worked in the States. You're not going to get used to working at a Taiwanese company. The foreign companies in this case are the Meta, the Google, the Visa, etc. However, as much as my friends were like, you could only go to these companies or you'll suffer, I did not have a lot of luck with job hunting at these companies. And the reason is, well, first, my expertise is very limited. It's within brand strategy, and with any company, brand strategy is always rooted in the headquarters. So the global companies aren't going to put a brand strategy person somewhere in Taiwan in the middle of Asia. It will be wherever their headquarters in New York and San Francisco and London, whatever. So it was very hard for me to find a brand strategy role. So I looked also at like product marketing, corporate marketing. I also had very little luck with those. I heard from one of the headhunters I spoke to, if they are hiring with Taiwan in a local market, they are looking for talent that have familiarity with the local market. And because I've only worked in the States, they don't value my expertise at all. I'm of no use to them. I don't know this market. I can't help them with it. And then the next is the Taiwanese companies. The ones that I looked at, mostly tech. There's like hardware like Asus, Acer, HTC, and also some software like LinePay, Foodpanda. These roles are mostly like product branding, marketing, corporate branding, or like brand management. Overall, my observation is that the market here is less specialized. In the States, it's very siloed. Brand strategists, creative strategists, media strategists, brand management. But in Taiwan, these companies, you'll see like one person that does, or like one department that does everything. It's a brand person that has to do everything. So that's just like something to keep in mind. If you are coming here, you have a very niche background like I do, you might have a little bit less luck and have to take more time in the job hunt just because there's less roles that fits your specialty. Okay, how do I find these jobs? So the ways that I looked at it were threefold. So I applied directly, I went through headhunters, and I also networked. So applying directly, the two most helpful websites was 104.com, 104, and LinkedIn. I also used Cake Resume and Yourator, but that didn't really help me at all. 104, 104 is where I want to say majority of where Taiwanese companies post. A lot of Taiwanese companies and professionals don't use LinkedIn, but on LinkedIn, you will find those global companies that are recruiting in Taiwan. For headhunters, I struggled to find them on LinkedIn just because I was still New York based. So the headhunters and recruiters that were reaching out to me were still for like New York roles. Through my friends, they were able to direct me to a few recruiters, but these roles that they have on their hands usually don't fit my profile. I didn't really have as much luck with these headhunters. However, they did give me very useful information. And the last was networking. So not a lot of professionals in Taiwan use LinkedIn, so it's harder to network than in the States. So even if you search up the company, it is a very select few of employees that are active on LinkedIn. But they would have their websites or their Facebook. I would just cold email them and network through that way. And that didn't work. Okay, next category was something that I'm sure a lot of you care about. Compensation, the benefits and salary. Observation is that it's very different from the States. In the States, I had a very straightforward base, some bonus, sometimes even no bonus. But here, they rely very heavily on bonuses, and they call this 三节奖金, so bonuses of all the major 3 holidays throughout the year. A lot of it would be saying that, okay, your base is X amount Taiwanese dollars a month, but we give 14 months. And that's because they would give maybe like 2 months of your monthly pay out as year-end bonuses, or they would pay it throughout the year. So if you're looking for a job in Taiwan, pay a lot of attention and ask about the bonuses, because it's something that they could get paid like a year or sometimes few years salary just on bonuses. That's how crazy it is. Another question that I got asked was whether or not I think having a background in the States helped with my job search in terms of compensation and interviewing. Sometimes yes and sometimes no. It really depends on what type of company that you're looking at, what type of role that you're looking at. It might be different for you as it is for me. Again, my specialty was very niche, so very few valued my expertise. And for many of them, they don't actually care about that. And I think that's just because I was not trained in the Taiwan market. They needed someone with market familiarity. They needed someone that knows the culture, the roots. For some companies or some roles that I interviewed at, they saw it as more of a downside that my experience was only in the States and not in Asia or Taiwan. So the salary range, in general, it's about 1/3 of the salary in the States. That's a number I heard from somewhere, from someone, of asking their company how much they would make if they did like an internal transfer to Taiwan from the States. So I use that 1/3 number as a base. However, from experience of looking at all these companies over the last 10 months, the range differs immensely. Even though I didn't hear a lot of like actual numbers, it varies so much, up to like 250%. And that's just really based on my limited sample size. So I use that range of 25% to 35% as my range of baseline of what to consider. So I wasn't actually too shocked at the salary, but it is a significant down pay in what you would make in the States. However, if you missed my last video, the cost of living is significantly lower. So if you're interested about that, I will link that video here. And then benefits. So from what I care about, first was work from home. Work from home, not a thing here. Most of the companies I interviewed at 5 days in the office. And then if it was work from home, it would be sold as a perk. You have to submit a proposal, and at most you could get like 24 days of working from home. You asked me in the beginning was like, is that a joke? But then in the end, I realized that it was not a thing. It was 5 days in the office. So being able to work from home, it's a huge perk in Taiwan. The other thing that I really cared about was PTO. In Taiwan, I don't know whether people negotiated it. I personally did. But there is a law on how much PTO people can have. If you are over 6 months within your job and less than a year, you get 3 days PTO. If you are there for more than a year, less than 2 years, it's 7 days. If you're 2-ish years, you get 10 days. It adds up. If you are at this job for more than 10 years, you will get 1 more day every year until 30 days PTO. I want that. However, you'll see that it is based on how long you've stayed at this job and this company. So in Taiwan, they really value you for your tenure. So if you quit or job hop, then you don't get these perks of PTO. But for me, the benefits, it's the things that the company doesn't provide. It's just the proximity of being close to my parents, proximity to my partner. It's the convenience of living in Taiwan and the convenience that Taiwan offers. It's the personal safety and all these things that are lumped in the package of Taiwan that is the additional benefit for me that outweighs the decrease in salary and some of the work benefits that I would have in the States. So negotiating offers. Speaking from personal experience, they don't tell you a salary range until you get the final offer. And I've asked many times, and what they have told me is that they don't know. They don't get a range. The company has an internal department that called like 𝕤𝕤𝕒, which I think is just like they go run some numbers, algorithm, and it comes out like, okay, here's your number. For me, it was a little bit frustrating when I was interviewing for a job and I was spending so much time and I didn't know their budgeted range. I didn't know whether it was like too low for me. I didn't know what to expect. As I mentioned, the salaries differ so much of up to like 2.5x. So some of these, it was wasting my time, but I didn't know until the end or when they eventually did tell me a rough range. A very common question that you get asked in interviews, and you get asked this, I think, often in like the second, third question in their first meeting was, how much do you make right now? What is your salary? And in the beginning, I was so shocked, but it's such a common question. The benefit of me working in New York was that, well, I could tell you my salary, but are you going to be able to match it? However, I imagine if you are already working in this market, they are using that number to like lowball you or just enough to make you move, but not enough to make it like hurt them, maybe. I don't know. This is my speculation. Last thing I wanted to wrap up was the few things I was shocked about of the reverse culture shock. And I hope this will help you with you not being reverse culture shocked. So the first was HR replies at all hours of the day. I was in the States and they were like responding to me when I was working, which is like their midnight or even like 2 or 3 a.m. I was being replied to emails Saturdays and Sundays. And I was just like so shocked because it was like, oh my gosh, you guys are still working at this hour? Do you guys not sleep? Do you guys always work? That was like one thing that I really shocked about. A second was a lot of things that are illegal to ask in the States, they ask in Taiwan. It was like so detailed, like personal questions of like, what years were you in Taiwan? What years were you in the States? Can you list that out for me? They asked me whether I had to 分担家计. Do I have to help my parents pay for their living expenses or my family? They asked me whether or not I had plan of having children. I was like, is this legal? I'm pretty sure it's not, but they still asked me. Another culture shock was that they asked for salaries, and I personally never gotten asked my current salary. It would always be, what's your expected salary range, and not like, what do you make now? But most, if not all of the interviews I've had asked me that exact same question. Another was that they would ask you to submit your photo. Again, something that I've never been asked to do in the States because of discrimination laws. It's not common practice to be showing or sending a photo of what you look like to the recruiter or HR. The last thing was the attitude of job hunting. It is very much your job hunting and less of the company recruiting. And I think that's just the biggest mentality change. There are also companies that are like more recruiting, but I would say there is more of a, you are coming to us for a job, and less of, we're coming to you because we are looking for your talent. So those are like, I think 5 of the things that really shocked me. The things that shocked me the most. I think the most was like the personal questions of, are you thinking about having children? That was insane to me. So yeah, that's my job hunt in Taiwan, the process, what I learned about, what I went through, what I was shocked about, what I was observed, how I did it. Let me know if you have any questions down below, any questions I did not address or things that you want me to elaborate on. I hope this video was helpful for you. I hope you like it, and I'll see you next time. Bye.